I wish to know, how should I have a direct experience of myself? Because I, through my senses, can only see the body. I have a body, I am not that body. I can see I have thoughts through my inner eyes. I have thoughts, they are mine, but I am not those thoughts. Then who am I? And what should I know to understand who I am? And how shall I dwell in this world when I have never had a manual, a primer, so that I can stay in my highest being, in my greatest expression, and yet perform mundane, day-to-day acts, or even go through difficult challenges. And yet, this I, somehow when I come within, remains unperplexed. This deeper I, this inner being, quiet, peaceful, still. I am told that the great wisdom of Bhagavad Gita, the song of the Lord, is the knowledge that shall provide me the answers of who am I? How did I come to dwell in this world of beings and experiences, of changes, while I am changeless? I shall learn how to be, how to think, how to act, so that I am never alienated from my true self, and in fact enabled in discovering my true self. May I then become ready to receive knowledge from God. I understand from the Bhagavad Gita that God is not any one person alone, but pure divine consciousness, the ground from which all comes, remains, and disappears, but that ground, pure consciousness itself, remains unchanged. I wish to receive knowledge from this eternal reality. I am getting ready for the deeper questions. My outer being is quietening now. My inner being is awakening now. Bhagavad Gita study is exclusive time for my inner being, for my deepest self. I know I came alone into this body, into this world. I know I shall leave alone. And I know I have a whole festival of people and events in the interim. But I deserve this quality study time to understand this entire phenomena of I, the spirit, taking on a body, taking on relatives and vocations. What happens after death? Where shall I go? Where will I find these answers? Can I do something now in preparation? Do I have to travel from body to body? I get to ask these questions in a contemplative, meditative space through the study of the timeless Bhagavad Gita. Let us chant Om 3 times, and after the utterance of the Om, be silent. The Om has 4 parts to the mantra. Om, silence. Om, silence. Stretch that silence. That divine void, that non-something from which everything emerges again. That divine pause. Hear the silence. Silence is deeper than sound. An inward state is the appropriate state for matters of the inward being. These are the truly private matters, and each one of us can begin a journey inwards. Everything I speak today in public, that shall be recorded and kept alive on the waves of the internet for perhaps way beyond my physical body, has existed. My virtual being shall be speaking and talking. Yet every time I shall speak to you alone who listens. And may what I speak assist you to go inwards. Let your speech rest in your mind. Let your mind rest in your heart. Let your heart rest in your soul. Let your soul rest in spirit. And let spirit rest in God. You, when shall you begin your long journey inwards? Said Rumi, the great Afghani Persian poet in the 13th century. And now you are beginning that journey inwards. Stay inwards as you open your eyes. This teaching pertains to you, the deepest you. But Bhagavad Gita, an ancient, timeless body of wisdom, recorded in 700 verses, is sensitive to the fact that you lead an outer life and hence have an active, engaged outer being. And you have an inner being that often gets neglected as a result. Sometimes the outer being feels it is capable. It can manage through sheer grit, willpower, suppression of sorrow, or aggression of that sorrow in the form of anger. The outer being tries and ultimately breaks down, or is forced to break down due to disease or some other difficulty. So the outer being alone by itself feels like we have suddenly showed up in some alien land. The rules are not there. And in fact, there are people who make up the rules and teach us things like dog-eat-dog world, every person for themselves. Based on the era or culture we live in, each one of us through our outer being has sincerely tried our best. No child says, I shall grow up and be a criminal. I shall be a terrorist. I shall be a bigot, how you say it, I don't know. How do you say it? Bigot. Bigot. My student talks like Indians now. So this is the only problem with studying with me. You'll all start using your hands and have very strong accents. So if that's the only disclaimer I have, rest is all okay, authentic. So no child decides that, but sometimes acts out those roles. What acts out? The outer being. Outer being goes from sorrow to dejection to disappointment to anger to trying again to breaking down to breaking others, and ultimately sometimes landing in hospitals, asylums, antidepressants and all kinds of things. But every one of us was deserving of a hand-holding, a deeper path, perhaps a different path. And all along, there was help available in the form of our own self, our pure consciousness, our spiritual self, which I want to call as your inner being today. But we didn't know how to connect with it, so we read about it. Sometimes we paid a lot of money to connect with it, but it was not an ongoing help. So the inner guru was asleep or absent or unknown. So the guru PS was not working, and so we were taking all the wrong roads and believing that what is actually quite peripheral or ephemeral or unworthy of our attention feels like it's eternal, it's important, and it's worthy of all our attention, and we go crashing in with all our heart and sincerity, and what do we find? Nothing. Suffering. And at other times we get so caught up in our abilities and our thoughts of the outer being that we start aggrandizing and building an whole outer structure of bricks of ego to suffer further negative consequences, betrayal, enemies, etc., etc. So we can go the sorry way, or we can try and make others sorry. But either way, we suffer. Because the issue is that the outer being does not know the inner being. And the inner being can only be known in a unique way. So let me explain to you. May I? According to the Vedic sages who gave us Bhagavad Gita, there are two ways of knowing for everybody. One is through perception, right? Which is known as Pratyaksha Pramana in Sanskrit. We perceive things and we say there is a fire, and nobody can disclaim that because we see it, we smell it, we feel the heat, here's a fire. And then through deductions we can analyze, it's a conclusive conclusion that we draw, that because there is a smoke, it's a pretty legitimate conclusion. It has always been noticed by mankind that when there is smoke, there is heat, there is fire. So we can conclude, and it's called inference, anumana pramana, that there is a fire. And this is the way we live. We either perceive or we conclude. All our sciences, our quantum physics, our modern science, our medical breakthroughs, our relationships also are based upon perception and inference. If you see a lovey-dovey couple together, you say they are in love. And if you see one of them buying chocolates at See's Candy, you say they must be in love. You infer. They might not be in love. He might just be taking the See's Candy to say, I'd like to separate from you, and here is See's Candy to make up for it. But we infer, so you can know that we're not so sure around perception and inference, but we're hitchhiking our way through these two forms of knowledge. Would you agree? Would the scientist also agree? It's not that accurate. But it's okay. In the phenomenal world, we can go along with it. So this is not a class on ways of knowing, but this is definitely a class on the Vedic way of knowing. Then, how do we know the inner being? That is the question. How do we allow the inner being to support the outer being, have a wider perspective and a connection with God and connect? Because we are told by the Vedic sages, and as I've mentioned in the past classes, that there is help right within. And God in the Vedas is not someone out there with a certain cosmic address, outer planetary or some other address. God is everywhere. Ishavase idam sarvam. And God, if God is everywhere, God is within us also. And that is why when the mind is calm, sometimes we get guidance from within. So who spoke? The God spoke from within. That means God is within. It's the inner being, the Atman, the self. And we want to connect them, but we can't perceive the inner self. And we can't always infer the inner self. We can sometimes feel that such and such person is getting inner guidance, but it's cloudy. Did I read a book? Did I channel this? Did I dream it? Did I imagine this? We don't know. So we kind of are unsure. But only the Veda says that there is a third way of knowing. And that third way of knowing is the only way you can know about the self and God and the deeper questions to you and your relationship with this universe, with this body, with these relatives, and with these experiences that give you joy and sorrow. There is a whole different paradigm, and you can know it through how? Through words. Very special words called Shabda Pramanaha. Shabda means word, Pramanaha means way of knowing. And this Shabda are not ordinary words. These are words contained in very special bodies of knowledge, originally transmitted by word and committed to memory and then transmitted by word, later written down. But these are words not originated from any one being or cluster of beings, but heard by them in their profound deep states of meditation, and hence known as apaurushya words. These are not, when I'm speaking to you, I'm a human speaking to you, albeit a human you like to meet, talk to and trust. Yet I am a human. But when these same words that I shall be teaching to you of the Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads and other Shastras that I have been teaching you, when they were first heard, they were received from non-human agency. So there is no single author. And that is why the rishis or the sages who first heard these words that give us a deeper understanding of the bigger picture of life and the essence of life, which is the self, these rishis are not known as authors of the Vedas or Upanishads. They are known as seers, or the ones who saw and heard the knowledge internally. So they are known as mantra drishtaha. They had drishyam. They could experience, they could see the knowledge. Okay? So that is why they are not authors. They have not claimed copyright. I authored it. So this body of received wisdom, which first transmitted orally, then committed to being written and preserved in certain families that were committed to preserving this knowledge in its authentic forms, known as lineage or Vedika Sampradaya, became a way of asking who am I and receiving that knowledge. And these bodies of wisdom can be separately known as Upanishad, Brahma Sutra, or Bhagavad Gita. These are the ultimate scriptures. They are collectively in Sanskrit known as Shastra. And Shastra, can you say that word? Shastra. Shastra can be defined as Shasanat iti trayate Shastram. What is a Shastra? The word Shastra comes from the root word Sha and Tra, Shastra. And Sham, Sha, it commands. So the Shastra will command something to you, as I keep teaching the Bhagavad Gita, as you proceed with me in verse by verse study, August onwards. Then it shall enlighten you. So when it commands, it says, this is the right, this is the path that takes you to sorrow, this is the path that takes you to more suffering. It has given you a commandment. Then it enlightens you. So you start following that commandment first, then it starts enlightening you in that process. And you understand, this is why the Shastra wanted me to do this and not that, to embody this attitude at work and not that, to take this action towards my enemy and not that. First it's a commandment, then it's an enlightenment. And Tra literally means, and finally what does it do? Ultimately it protects you. Protects you so that you are protected in your day-to-day life, in your outer being gets protected. And why is this protection there? Not as something that shall give you salvation or save you, but it protects you so that you do not waste this wonderful human life and can turn inwards to discover the joy and power and bliss of your inner being. And once you are blessed by your own inner being and inner knowingness, you shall have greater success even in your outer relationships, outer projects, and outer work, as our hero Arjuna sitting here at the feet of his first maternal uncle, then friend, then guide, then mentor, then guru, then God, and then as Brahman, supreme reality, all revealed in a human form. He showed Arjuna a path back to his own inner capacities, which were infinite. But we begin the Bhagavad Gita as an epic poem, with the first chapter known as the Vishada Yogaha, the chapter on the despondency, on the depression, on the dejection, on the breakdown, on the failure of the life of Arjuna. If any of you are at a complete breakdown level, then Bhagavad Gita is being spoken for you. Anyone with hands? Wonderful. Because it's very interesting that these words are special. So you will not hear and understand the definition of what is, we use the words eternal, non-eternal, right? Easily. And what is nitya, what is anitya, what is dharma, what is karma, what is atma? These special teachings are contained in these special scriptures only. Only in these special scriptures. Not in Mahabharata, not in Ramayana, not in the Puranas, which are also part of the Vedic pantheon and highly respected holy scriptures. But the very special scriptures that reveal Brahma Vidya, that reveal the knowledge of the ultimate reality, is only Brahma Sutra, Upanishad, and Bhagavad Gita. And in fact, Bhagavad Gita itself is known as an Upanishad. Gita Upanishad. Gita itself is an Upanishad of 700 words. When these words are heard, what happens is, when these words are heard, and we just sit there and we allow the words to wash over us again and again and again on a regular basis. Regularity is important. Just hear those words as the teacher speaks and discourses on these special words. The words do their work. So just like your eyes saw fire and confirmed through perception, direct perception, there is fire. Your eyes and your nose, probably your nose smelled the smoke even sooner. You inferred, your mind inferred, not your eyes now, it's deeper, your mind inferred there is a fire. Now, as you hear the Bhagavad Gita, your buddhi, your intellect, your higher knowing, which is connected with yourself, shall know that all that fire, even the ultimate fire, dwells within you. Atma Agni. So it's like you can't see that fire, but you shall know of it and feel its presence because you heard it. Now, as you hear it, the longer you hear it, and the more trust with which you hear it, it shall have that much effect. If you come to a class occasionally, if you come for an auditing purpose, if you come only to write a critical essay, it won't have that effect. But so the student who has been longer inducted into the Vedic path and has known the teacher speaking it for longer, or knows about them, or takes a decision to trust this process until there is reason not to trust, shall have a transformative effect with those words. So the word itself of the Shastra, not the teacher. Not the teacher. Let me clarify. The teacher should speak these through the teacher's mouth, but the words are the original words of the Shastra. So can you say Shabda? Pramana. So this Shabda Pramana, or the words of the scriptures, of the Shastra, are very important. And what they do is, they affect us at a deep level, at a heart level, at an innermost level, at beyond the mind level, and they weed away the ignorance. What is that ignorance? There is some ignorance that is covering the inner being. In Vedanta, it is known as Maya. It is also known as mithya. It can also be known as naysance or ignorance, spiritual ignorance. Now, it's like this. If Shreya's here, oh, there is a little dog here. How wonderful. Wonderful. Where is... Make sure he watches the webinar in future. Okay. Once a dog or a cat or a bird comes here, then they have to keep staying on the Bhagavad Gita path. Because this is a very fast-forwarded animal. He's in an animal yoni, not a human yoni yet, but they're definitely preparing for a human yoni. It's not a joke. here. And each one of you who's in a Bhagavad Gita class has been brought in here by a friend, or you've come on your own, it's your first time or your nth time. May I congratulate your soul, because this was all designed. Okay. So, Shreyas says, Shunyaji, I can't find the book of Bhagavad Gita that you had given me, and I can say, may I give you a book one day, and I can't find it. I'll say, there it is. You shall go find it. Then you find that somebody's chanting away, and then he can infer, my book is there. Okay? Okay? All right? But what if he is reading the book itself, and he's saying, where is Bhagavad Gita that you gave me, and he's reading it? What shall I do? What shall I do? I shall say, it's with you. It's in the same way we ask for, where is my power? Where is my spiritual power? Where is myself? Where is God? And people have had fun saying, God lives with me. God is in this institution, that church, that temple, up the mountain, down the river, behind the tree, under this rock. This is where God is. And many blind people have followed those paths. And then there are some teachers who may say, well, yourself is living in me. I shall give you mantra, then you shall have yourself. That is on another way. But it's okay. Another, at least it's fine. They've gone to somebody. Vedanta says, well, you're asking an interesting question, because you are asking what you already are. So Vedanta and Bhagavad Gita, from Krishna to Arjuna, and we are all Arjuna, and we are all learning from Krishna, wants to tell this dejected Krishna that you are helpless today, you are broken today, you have no options today. You have made certain choices that have brought you to your knees. People may have betrayed you. You feel guilty, whether it's right or wrong. All kinds of things are happening at a psychological level for Arjuna. The average good guy, you know who's Arjuna? The good guy next door. He's our regular good guy. And he's broken. And that's all we all are. We're all well-meaning good people. We're lost among scheming people, confusing people, warring people, manipulative people, lost. But Krishna is telling Arjuna, so Krishna is telling all of us. So the Upanishads through Bhagavad Gita is telling all of us, because this is an essence of the Bhagavad Gita, of the Upanishads, also known as an Upanishad unto itself, Gita Upanishad, that don't worry. Start a journey by first resting your outer being, giving it right thoughts and actions, understanding its inclinations and its needs, balancing out first the outer being through Dharma, and then going inwards and recognizing your true nature, which is the state of moksha. So there is a path laid out, and the path laid out to that ultimate God self, that ultimate absolute infinite bliss, Satchitananda, is not just round the corner. It starts giving us some very simple teachings which we can employ in our day-to-day relationships, in our job, even in the food we eat, and even the types of meditation that we can take up. We can always do the meditation our beloved guru or teacher has given us. There's not a dispute here. But probably all the teachers' different meditations, their seed can be found right here in Bhagavad Gita. So it teaches us, Krishna teaches us the ultimate goal, which is self-recognition, which is equal to God recognition. Oh, I was feeling alienated from God. Then I found you, my Guru and God outside me. And then I found that God within me. This is an ultimate. And yet at the same time, Arjuna is taken step by step in that journey. So you too, through these 18 chapters from this beloved teaching, shall be taken step by step into your deeper understanding of who you are. So you shall be taught some healthy attitudes. I had met a student over the last few days who was having some difficulty at the work, at her work. And we just went over one shloka from the Bhagavad Gita, and the Bhagavad Gita taught her to make a correction in one attitude. Later, when I met the student was glowing, radiating energy, and then the student told me how she had a conference call with so many people, and instead of hiding under her attitude or losing her energy, in modern language, she killed it with excellence and beauty and dharma and power and bliss. And she didn't change anything. She didn't change a very difficult boss who has a tendency to be nitpicker. She didn't change the long hours. She didn't change, she didn't even take a plant in her office to make her feel better. She didn't have to do anything. She just changed one attitude from one mantra of this book. So this student most probably is on her way then through her professional balance. She feels a liberated moment. She feels her inner power. She even feels compassion for the boss who's caught up in a cycle of nitpicking. So she's growing inside her. She's not smaller than the boss. Oh, he criticizes me. She's now at least an equal, if not bigger, down the road. Where I can predict, a few months down the road, she'll be counseling the boss. Or maybe patting his back over Bhagavad Gita class on webinar. Right? Anything can happen. The Vedic sages, Bhagavad kartum, akartum, annatha va kartum. We get so caught up and so scared. But the Vedic teachings say, kartum, do it this way. Akartum, do it that way. Annatha va kartum, hey, do it any new way. You are free. Create new, original, spontaneous ideas to handle the situation. You don't have to just come from fear, anger, and smallness and small attitude. Do you see that? And this is where he was. He was lost. In our story, which I have shared in the previous 2 classes, and for those of you who find me on a video 200 years from now, just look for part 1 and 2, I guess. This is part 3. And you came 200 years later, but you are never late for Bhagavad Gita. So, that is what Krishna said. You have this option, or a whole new option. And what is that new option? That new option is pause outside, go within, go above, and grow and expand. And then come back to the same cubicle, to the same boss, and you're different. Paradigm shifted by going within. I love that. And it's really interesting, throughout Mahabharata, Krishna, Lord Krishna, whenever he speaks, author of that epic, Mahabharata says, Krishna uvacha, Krishna spoke. Because every time somebody speaks, Dhritarashtra uvacha, Arjuna uvacha, uvacha means spoke. Dramatic. But when Bhagavad Gita starts, the word, he's not called by his first name. He has grown in status. Earlier he was a maternal uncle of Arjuna and his evil cousin Duryodhana. He was a wise king. He was a peacemaker. He was a mentor. He was known to have had some miraculous deeds in his childhood. But people were quite not unsure about him, because people with miracles, some people loved them, like the gopis loved him, and some people despised him. Some people called him somebody with black magic, and some people thought he's an avatar. So there were some question marks around his miracles. But once he started giving the perennial wisdom, the wisdom which is like a river that has been flowing for thousands of years, and even if you put a foot into that river, your life changes. Forget taking a dip into it. 700 verses. That's like a full soak. How many of you are ready for full soak here? Tell me. Okay, at your own cost. Because you shall not do it this way or this way. You may even invent a whole new way. At least you'll be free. So, once he started giving the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita, he is called Bhagavana. Bhagavana Uvacha. Now, in typical Sanskrit or Hindi, we can say Bhagavan means God. But let us look at the meaning of Bhagavana. Who is Bhagwan? Who is Krishna? Is Krishna this person in a fancy dress from ancient India with a peacock feather and a beautiful girlfriend called Radha and illustrious life? Who is Bhagwan? Who is teaching this? So Bhagavana is a word, Bhagavan, which has 6 qualifiers. Bhaga, 6 parts. Bhaga means parts. Okay. The first part is that Bhagavan is signified by absolute knowingness and knowledge, known as Jnanam. Now, this knowingness is not dependent on mind. Bhagavan doesn't need a tiny little mind with its own time and space restrictions. Any knowing by any mind, whether an ant's mind, a camel's mind, or even a human mind, is limited. This is a beyond mind, absolute knowing of the whatever is worth knowing. In fact, all knowing that you and I also possess is Bhagwan's knowing, of which only aspects of it we carry and we feel so proud about. And that is why a Jnani or a one who goes on this path, we are trying to connect to Bhagwan's knowing. And he puts that knowledge in his sermon. But Bhagavan is Jnanam. Bhagwan is signified also, the second signifier. Oh, my student Gita is here. I gave you the name Gita. Now you can feel this song in your heart. Huh? So, the second qualifier of Bhagwan is Vairagyam. Now, Vairagya means detachment or dispassion. And we all work so hard to have Vairagyam from coffee, and still we go and take it. We experience Vairagyam from some dysfunctional relation, still we go there and we call the person, email the person, or even if we say, no, I will never call an email, that person keeps visiting us night hours, day hours, all the time, from here to here. It has been given away to the one we are trying to have detachment from. But detachment, the need to detach means there was an original attachment. There was an original craving, a desire. But Bhagavan, or God in this context, is beyond all such desires. Bhagavan is not caught by strings of desires. So he is complete. Bhagavan is content unto Bhagavan. Complete contentment and self-pleasure, self-pleased. So therefore, absolutely detached. There is no if Bhagavan is not trying to, they say stories is like if Mirabai, this great saint, was remembering Krishna, then Krishna came running to her. But these are all human stories. Krishna is Bhagwan in the sense that all of it is equal. It's not playing biased games here. Well, Mirabai writes really nice poetry, so I think I like her more. There's no such thing. Is this helping you? And then Bhagwan's third quality is Virya. Virya means absolute potency. So the potency to create. The potency to sustain. And the potency to resolve. So all of this, all of it at every level lives in Bhagwan. And then the fourth quality is Yasha. Yasha means fame. Your parents of Yasha. And, Beethoven had Yasha. Marilyn Monroe had Yasha. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi had Yasha. Everyone who has done anything worthy has Yasha. The rishis have Yasha. Our Guru Baba Ayodhya Nath had Yasha. But really, all that Yasha comes from Bhagwan. So everyone's Yasha is Bhagwan's Yasha. Absolute Yasha is the signifier of Bhagwan. And then Shri. Shri means abundance. Absolute abundance is in Bhagwan. Have I covered all 5 or 6? How many have I covered? I have covered 5. And then there is one more quality. Yasha, Virya, Vairagya. Final one. Aishwarya. Can you say it? Aishwarya means overlordship. Bhagwan is not under the lordship of any lord. Bhagwan is causeless, birthless, deathless. We need rules of Dharma and teachings. He does not need rules. This is Bhagwan. This is Bhagwan who gave us this teaching. And now this Bhagwan says, I dwell here. So I am trying to tell you here that we go from learning from a Bhagwan who has these 6 complete qualities, and then we find gradually, as we let the words of the Bhagavad Gita wash over us, that I too, the humble I, the outer being that gets tired and broken and disappointed and scared and irritable and insecure and get lost in memories or feels like my inner child shall come and murder me or someone else, or my words came out wrong, or we're making all these fumbles and faux pas in the world. And yet, and that's what Arjuna was, a broken man, crying and afraid in the face of engaging in life. And yet, Bhagwan showed him that not only am I here to teach you, if you are sincere to learn, but that I, with these 6 qualities, am your own essence. Tat Tvamasi, you are that, is what this Upanishad is teaching. You are Bhagwan. It feels very hard. Maybe even the chair you are sitting on is hurting you. I am Bhagwan sitting on this chair which is hurting. Vedika Global should do something. They should get more comfortable chairs. This must be a thought. And teacher is telling you that this Bhagavad Gita is telling you, and that you can wake up to that potency within you. And I shall tell you that this tradition, this text has woken up people to many levels of power, to what they are willing to do. When this book has been taught to prisoners in India, they become saints. When it is taught to saints, they become activists, conscious activists. When it is taught to conscious activists, they become meditators. When it is taught to meditators and dharmic people, they become self-realized. So wherever you're at, your journey deepens. And if nothing else, you can be like my student who listened to one shloka of this book from me, and she's about to make different set of choices. And she definitely had a good week after many months of bad weeks. So the benefit can be as far as you contemplate and how much you welcome the words to wash over you. That is what I would say to you. This is my blessing to you. And this is not the time to deselect yourself from everything good that's happening in the world, saying, well, I've never really benefited from anything. Eject that thought. That is what Bhagavad Gita would say. That's a negative loser thought. This was for everybody. Just allow it. And just like there were two armies, right, of the good and the bad, and every action would cause infinite karma. And in the middle of that heavy duty opera, time ceased so that learning could take place. In the same way, put aside your failures and your victories and your dreams and ambitions and learn. And as you learn, with each shloka, I've not even started the shlokas. With each shloka, you shall go deeper and deeper and become wetter and wetter with this wisdom. And when you're soaking wet, something shall change within you. So are you ready for the dip? Wonderful. And Jai Ma. And I would say dip head first. This one Bhagavad Gita, you don't have to be overcautious. You can take a risk. That is all I would say. Could you bring my laptop from inside? And my glasses are here. I shall read to you that at the end of every chapter, which is known as Adhyaya, and there is a typical end to every Adhyaya, and it goes like this. What is the dog's name? Minnie. And she has purple ears because she is ready for some Shruti, listening. Divine listening, I come with purple ears. I will check for your purple ears. All of you. Minnie will set our fashion trends. Okay. Please allow me, but I go a little doggy when I meet dogs. I love all animals. Yeah. Okay. So, for example, when the first chapter ends, it says, Om Tat Sat Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Panishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Arjuna Vishada Yogo Nam Prathamo Adhyaya. If I don't chant in my tone, then I miss words. The tone is very necessary. So, what is it saying? So it is saying Om Tat Sat Iti. So Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat is the name of Brahman, the divine supreme reality, which is nameless, formless, boundless, inexhaustibly blissful, and all-inclusive. There is no mini and no shunya. There is no this or that. There is no up and down. There is no birth or death. There is that one changeless, true, divine reality. So it begins with first calling forth that divine reality, Om Tat Sat. Okay. So if you were to remove this whole image, there is only Om, only that. Okay. Om Tat Sat Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishad. So Srimad Bhagavad Gita, it is an Upanishad. So why has it been compared to an Upanishad? Because if you could not study the 10 main Upanishads or the 108 Upanishads, then you can study the essence of all the Upanishads in the Bhagavad Gita. So it is known as the Upanishad called Srimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishad. Okay? Gita Upanishad. And it is known as a Brahma Vidya. Why is it a Brahma Vidya? Brahman again is the name of Brahman comes from the root word Bru, which means that which is ever growing, big, expanding. That which is big. Why? Well, maybe it includes this universe. Maybe includes that. No, it is the biggest. There is nothing that can supersede it, which is again another name for Om, or the ultimate reality. So Brahma Vidya. Then it is known as Yoga Shastra. So it is any serious study of yoga begins and ends with Bhagavad Gita. Reason? It's not so popular in the culture today, but even today, most teachers will take us into a journey of Bhagavad Gita. Why? Because the Bhagavad Gita alone teaches us yoga. What is yoga now in this context? Yoga, the one word we know its meaning is union, right? But actually it has many meanings, and one of the words for yoga is, it is a tool. It is a tool to take Arjuna from here to recognizing his absolute potential. It is the tool that shall take you from thinking Bhagwan is where to there to in here. Yoga is again the tool. And yoga can be mainly of 4 kinds, which is known as Karma Yoga, right? Raja Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga or Upasana Yoga, same thing. Jnana Yoga or Raj Yoga, which is the method of meditation. And I didn't say Ashtanga Yoga, which is Patanjali, which came much later, which is a part of Raj Yoga. You can say it is also a part of Upasana Yoga. So it is not outside yoga, it's a very much a bona fide yoga by Sri Patanjali, except that in Bhagavad Gita, the bigger categories are mentioned. So it is also known as Yoga Shastra, because if you want to study the nitty-gritty verses of Karma Yoga, you go here. If you want to understand what is Bhakti Yoga, you go here. If you really want to understand the science of meditation and where it began, you go here. If you want to even understand, even to study Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, you can get many learnings, teachings from here that can help you understand Patanjali. So therefore it is also known as a Yoga Shastra. So it's very interesting that Bhagavad Gita brings together Vedanta and Yoga. And Vedanta teaches us our goal, which is to discover our own infinite, inexhaustible, amazing potential. And yoga is the paths. So different paths are discussed here. Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade. Samvadaha means dialogue, and it is a dialogue between who? It clarifies the characters, Shri Krishna and Arjuna. So these are eternal, the teacher and the student, the first teacher and student that we remember, who are so popular from the Indian Vedic tradition. Samvade, Arjun, and then comes the title of the chapter, Arjun Vishada Yogo Nam. So what is the name of this chapter? Arjun Vishad Yoga. Vishad means despondency yoga. So what do you mean? Is Arjun in union with this despondency? Well, the Veda says that whatever you think about, you become connected to that. That starts becoming your reality. So when my student was thinking, I'm caught, I'm a victim, I'm misunderstood, everybody's against me, and it is represented by the boss, then that became her reality. When she starts thinking, I killed it, I'm amazing, I am brilliant, I can do this, I'm inexhaustible, I can do it this way, or a whole new way, this becomes her reality. So therefore, at that time, his instrument, his mind, was in union with what? sorrow, despondency. And so it begins with reality. It doesn't begin with this amazing student sitting in like lotus pose, chanting Om, ready to learn from Arjuna. You guys are way ahead of Arjuna at this point. At that time, Arjuna had lost even his day-to-day skills, like his strength in being a warrior. He was a renowned warrior, but he could not even lift his bow. It's like he had lost self-confidence. He had lost life purpose. He had lost motivation. He had lost small-term vision or long-term vision. He was stuck. He was paralyzed. And the battle of Kurukshetra, which it is known, is only symbolic of the various battles in which we get lost. So even though the Bhagavad Gita is considered a religious text, really, if you think about it, it's a psychology manual. Don't you think so? It doesn't teach rituals. It actually makes us understand cosmology, life after death, what is your life purpose, what shall happen if you follow that purpose or not, what are the deterrents to following our life purpose. Many of us feel that I was meant for bigger things and we are not there. How many of you feel that? We all feel that. And and if we are not there, it's not that we can externally give up our ambitions and say, it's all right, I'm in vairagyam. We can say all those spiritual sounding things to ourselves. But then Krishna teaches Swadharma and says, if you don't live up to your potential, you will also not find the God within. So it's like, let's have some honest conversations here, can we? And if you're ready for renunciation, then be a truly ready for it, worthy of that renunciation. And who can renounce? If the poor person says, I renounce eating cakes, does it have any meaning? If the cake eater says, I renounce eating cake, it has meaning. So if you renounce the world before achieving the world, what does it have? It's a fake renunciation. It is a coward's renunciation. Do you see my point? And so the Bhagavad Gita, being a spiritual book, gives us the permission to be successful material beings. Have successful material lives. As long as this success has dharma in it, and I'll talk about dharma next. But dharma is a sense of welfare for another, for the planet, for the beings. When we are concerned not just about ourselves and our little success, but the welfare of all beings. So when that same student, I taught her about dharma, and I said, if you go in there not just for your stress, your paycheck, but you think of that little job as a seat where you are performing dharma in the orchestra of the universe, how are you going to be that day? You see? So with dharma, we achieve the material plane, and then we go deeper and deeper, and we become lords. We become Bhagavan. We have absolute knowledge, absolute dispassion, absolute abundance, absolute power and potency, absolute fame, amazing fame, and absolute sovereignty over Lordship, Aishwarya, right within, by then going into the next goal of moksha. So are you with me up till now? And I want to change my topic, and I want to know how much time I have to change that topic. 7:30. Okay. So this serves as an introduction to why we are studying Bhagavad Gita. Because we have accepted that we are on the floor and we are asking for help. Until he didn't ask for help, he was only finding Krishna. But when he asked for help, through Krishna, he found Bhagwana. In Krishna, he found Bhagwana. He found God. So when a student is ready, the teacher appears. And the teaching commences. And the goal in a Vedic parampara, is that originally the student takes a symbolic position below the teacher, because like knowledge flows. So they are not peers. They are knowledge-wise, they are not equal. I have had this experience of men and women older than me, first sitting next to me and then saying, well, you're higher to me in knowledge. I am your student. So in a Vedic system, we are studying a Vedic text. A teacher is not known by their biological age. We don't know what was Krishna's age and was he older than Arjuna or younger. We go by the age of the wisdom that is taught. So for example, if I'm going to be teaching you Bhagavad Gita, I'm going to be probably 10,000 years old sitting right here. And this is the view that we bring to our teacher. We don't look at the teacher's body. We don't look at the teacher's face. We don't look at the teacher's this world qualities. We focus on the wisdom, and we focus on that soul in the teacher, the self that is enabling it. And we bring that protocol to the teacher. And we see ourselves, we may be 40, 50, 80. At that time, we just see ourselves as really budding young people. Because it's not like, well, I'm 70, I wish I had started Bhagavad Gita at 40. This has no meaning. It has no meaning. Because when you get Bhagavad Gita, you have become Arjuna. You have become a warrior that doesn't want to just fight a war, but wants to understand and then go back to the war. War it is, but go back to the war of life. But wants to understand. And whenever this happens to you in your life, consider yourself fortunate and enjoy that and benefit from it, because Bhagwan is calling and Bhagwan wants to teach this deep wisdom to us. So close your eyes again, take a deep breath. I would really like, I'm already changing the style of my teaching from my first 2 classes and my 3rd class to a more interactive participatory class where I'm not just giving a discourse, but I'm inviting you to begin a discourse within you, between your outer being, which tries its best, but it's dominated by the mind and senses, and gets tired and scared and frightened, and then the inner being that has begun to make itself available, or it's already available, but it's beginning to feel more potently available to you. You may have had the blessings of Bhagwan, Guru in your life. You are lucky. And let that awakened part of you, or the awakening part of you, or the willing to be awake part of you, which is actually the real part of you, the ultimate part of you, slowly gather deeper presence within you. So there is an acceptance of 2 selves, the learning self and the teacher self, the restful self and the active self, the knowing self, the inner being, and the blind self, the outer being. So it experiments, it tries, it makes mistakes, but there is no shame. It's now trying to bring them into a state of yoga or union and bring them together, and you can give yourself permission. You're not a mother here, not a father here, not a doctor here, not a scientist here. You're a soul. You are an embodied soul that has made its best since it found itself in this body. It was given all kinds of relatives at birth, and then through marriage or relationships, which have mainly at some point caused some sorrow. Either through death the person has caused sorrow, or while living they have caused sorrow. Their impending death has caused sorrow, or even their presence causes you day-to-day sorrow. There is sorrow of all kinds that surround you. You can now separate yourself from that and say, okay, there is this sorrow. I am pausing, I am looking at this, and I am learning. At last I have been led to a classroom where I can learn how to bring these two beings into yoga and how to exist in this day-to-day world and keep elevating my consciousness. I hope all of you on webinar are also doing this. You can tell yourself, well, I'm on this side of the camera, so I guess I don't belong. So it doesn't matter. But choosing to belong is up to you. It's a thought. And you could be thousands of miles away from me, and you could belong to this sacred circle of learning and getting ready to receive great knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita, to getting wet in that river of wisdom. And in that wetness, in that river, that ignorance will dissolve. And Shreyas will no longer ask, where is Bhagavad Gita? He will find that it is in his own heart. The song is going on. Let us bring our hands to Namaste position. Let us bow to Lord Krishna Bhagwan. You can be of any religion, but we can bow to a great teacher. You can consider him a wise man, an elevated human being, a guru, a god to some, an avatar, or the ultimate reality. It is up to you. But wherever wisdom is being spoken, it can be received with reverence, because this wisdom has shown many the path. Okay, welcome back. I shall now invite you to a contemplation. Do you know that Bhagavad Gita, Bhagwan, Krishna tells us, may I use this word Bhagwan? Bhagwan, Krishna tells us that most of us, the souls, when they find themselves in a body and they grow up, they mindlessly, without thinking about it, start pursuing two goals, two things, two ends in their day-to-day life, moment to moment. Do you know what they are? Okay. The first pursuit is a pursuit for survival. And this survival is not just economical. Emotional survival is huge, especially in the West. People feel like they're emotionally not surviving. Economical survival, political survival, and all survival-based activities are called artha. And most of us are programmed. All animals are also programmed, but they only want physical survival. A cow is happy at physically surviving. A snake is happy if it can make it through a season. A sparrow is happy if it can make it to the next spring. But we humans have to work for emotional survival every day. From very young, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds have to begin emotional survival. Some of us in poor countries, starving nations, have physical survival. Right? So all kinds of survival activities as an animal, they consume us, do they not? And this survival activity is known as artha, A-R-T-H-A. Can you say that? Artha. And then, from time to time, we need pleasure. Recreational pleasure, sexual pleasure. And for some of us, even coming to satsang is pleasure. It's not deep inner stuff, it's pleasure. Pleasurable. So we come sometimes. It's pleasurable. We like it. It's pleasure. So it's a kind of a high pleasure. Sometimes some people need to go and gamble. That's kind of a more destructive pleasure, but it's pleasure. It's a pleasure. We want pleasure. And we seek it. I mean, puppies seek pleasure by playing with each other. Humans pleasure with playing or fighting with each other, but it's pleasure. I remember I and my sister used to fight a lot, but it was for pleasure. Pleasure. So my father used to tease us. He used to say, you're like two old women. And one old woman says to the other old woman, dear old woman, let's fight. The other woman says, why should I fight? Why not fight? Why should I fight? Well, why not fight? Why should I fight? Give me one reason. Well, I don't know. What's that one reason you need? Why should we not fight? And then a fight ensues. So he used to say that for the two of us, that this is their play. Simple things like you took my mango, you took my banana, and this and that. Fight. So we all play. We all make love. We all want entertainment. And we want karma. And on the surface, it sounds really wonderful, does it not? And, Vedanta and the entire Vedic sciences, including the medical science of Ayurveda, says these are legitimate pursuits and we can go for it. But now look at the strategies that Bhagavad Gita shows us. And if you think about survival, and we feel so legitimate, and all our Western psychology and all of that really feeds into you got to survive. It's important. But at the premise, let's just let go of your survival needs and just step into a learning arena with me, okay? Just maybe we'll just look at it, okay? So you're feeling like you can't survive, or you're into survival, and you spend a lot of time surviving, emotionally, physically, psychologically, and all kinds. But the premise of the survival instinct or goal is that somewhere we feel insecure. Is it not? And then the goal for pleasure. Somewhere we feel not enough blissful in ourselves. We feel displeased with ourselves. Would you agree? And different people's survival modality or artha may change. Somebody is a carpenter, somebody is a president, somebody is a politician, somebody is this and that, but ultimately it's all survival. Okay? But if you look, the common thing of humanity is insecurity. Yes or no? So we have some gaping insecurity for which we need constant security. And the gaping inner displeasure for which we need outer pleasure. Simple. And that is why many of us feel that I can do anything but be with myself alone. So I need a remote control, I need a phone, if nothing else, I need a walk in nature. But I just can't be with myself because myself is displeasing to me. Has that happened? It's common. So we have created an industry of pleasure, a legitimacy of pleasure. We have talked about the merits of pleasure too. Okay. But we are trying to find out who we are. We're trying to reach a deeper place. And if we spend a bulk of time pursuing survival, when our premise is insecurity, do you think any amount of survival activities fill this up? Yes or no? And the moment you try to do something to survive, economically, emotionally, you have now a next set of cards to maintain to survive. So it becomes an ad infinitum loop, yes or no. Okay, thank you. That's all I need to know. Now, similarly with pleasure, you think buying clothes shall give me pleasure, and you have earned it, and you go to buy clothes. You bought clothes and you pushed your budget and you paid for the best. Did you still not come back with that one red dress or the tie you couldn't buy? Because desires grow also the more we feed ourselves with pleasure. You've eaten 5 candies, you want the 6th. Yes or no? Okay. So probably, Shastra, remember? Shabda Pramana, the words, right? The words tell us that these gaps, they are an illusion. So we can fill them, but chances are that if we don't examine, we can get lost in them. We are itching an itch that does not exist. We are filling a gap that does not exist because, now wait, this shall be discovered by you. The words, the sacred words, Shastra says that you are completely secure into yourself. There is no problem. There never was. Now be careful, because you want to try and logic with me, but there is. I've known him from my childhood, from my adulthood, since I got molested, since this happened, since they did that to me. We're taking a pause here. Allow Bhagwan to say that actually, instead of running to fill yourself with pleasure because you're bored with yourself, what if you entertained a new thought which said, I do not require anyone. I am complete. It's only a thought, but it's a paradigm shifting thought, because Shastra, with me, because the words, the sacred words, Shabda Pramana, says, people cannot see it, people cannot infer it, but these rishis, these highly respected rishis, say that you are completely secure. You are sovereign. You do not require anyone. In fact, the more you think you require anyone, the more you give away your power. And the more you look inwards, you are complete, you are sovereign. And the more you think you need pleasures, your own silence, your own presence, you're pleasureful, you are blissful. These are only thoughts. Okay. Now, when I was a student, let me share with you, this is why can't read this, you have to learn it. When I was a student, and I was, I was learning from childhood, because Bade Baba would commentary on Adi Bhagavad Gita, my great teachers' teachings went to Baba, I would listen to Baba's teachings, so it is a tradition. I was listening since childhood, but I started contemplating on it from, teens. And I'm thinking, how can it be? I always want to talk to people. I want to tell people, and I have to manipulate my own way. Maybe I didn't know the word manipulate, but my mother had passed away, and I felt I needed somebody to kind of give me reassurance that I'm okay and I'm loved. And this theme continued for a while. But then I mentioned in my first class here that I read this daily. This is my life manual. And I am not leading it 100% from day one, but I'm coming closer and closer and closer to it. I can tell you today, I am secure in myself. I am. And I can tell you today that I do not require external pleasure or external people to make me happy. I feel good. And as a result, my outer dependencies have reduced. My student comes, a dog comes, a movie comes, a rainbow comes, I can enjoy. But I'm not dependent on it. Are you with me? So Vedanta, Bhagavad Gita, asks you to question that premise. If you go to a psychotherapist, and if you tell the psychotherapist that I am feeling insecure, the psychotherapist will teach you ways on how you are secure. Sometimes students come to me and say, I'm insecure. And for that time, I realize that they need a psychotherapist at that point. So I can say, well, you are secure, and here is how you are secure. And so it's a patchwork teaching. It's a band-aid teaching, or it's a temporary teaching. As in, Bhagwan was not teaching Bhagavad Gita throughout Mahabharata. Krishna taught the real teaching in 100,000 verse book only for 700 verses, right? Prior to that, he was being more of a psychotherapist, doctor, buddy, friend, diplomat, ambassador. Do you see that? So when students come to me and they're like, I'm insecure, I'm emotionally insecure, I'm this insecure, I'm that insecure, I can soothe them, calm them, and teach them ways to feel better there, which is valid. But when the spiritual seeker gets ready, you question that. You question that very premise. Are you with me, or shall I stop teaching Bhagavad Gita? Are you with me? Yes. Thank you. Anybody? No? I'm not saying do it today. I'm just saying Bhagavad Gita will take you there. I questioned it myself. So if you say, well, this sounds improbable. What are you talking about? I'm in an emotional crisis. Okay? But an emotional crisis could still be a passing perception. That's what I'm trying to say. So if we invest so much in it, and I could invest all, if Shiva is having a drama, and I can invest all my spiritual teaching in resolving that drama, and that would be the end of our relationship. But the day he, along with me, can see a drama for a drama, and he is the seer who's seeing the drama, and I'm the seer who's seeing the drama has no substance. Do you see that? So therefore, bear with me. There are 700 verses for you to understand it. But I'm just saying that you can do survival activities only so much. Don't expect to survive. You may still, at some level, feel a gap. And you can only be so much secure, and you can only be so much pleased. Because after a while, even if I come to live in your home, after a while I will no longer give you pleasure. You will want your privacy. You'll say, Shunya, can I be in my bedroom by myself? Because now your silence gives you pleasure, not Shunya Satsang. Everything changes. So are these the ultimate goals to go for? So then, but most human beings, and we all, spend a bulk of our life in that. Now imagine partnering or being in a profession or being in any kind of thing with people who are similarly all looking for emotional security, physical security from each other. Do you see what a cacophony of crisis that is? At least then, we should know that I would rather live with this gap than ask someone who has nothing to give me. And stop blaming that person and said compassionately, let us organize a Bhagavad Gita study group and study Acharya Shunya's video. At least we all start recognizing the treasure within rather than struggling outwards. Would you agree? Okay, that's one thing. So we're not saying don't go for pleasure. I'll scold you if I find you in a movie hall because I might be sitting next to you. I mean, sometimes I do that. Just be normal, okay? Wear your Levi's jeans, go to work, eat your pizza, but stop it should be organic, but stop expecting that you are here only for some inch-by-inch survival. Drop it. Just drop it. And especially when your survival is being threatened through the withdrawal of love or attention or position or ego, that's when you say, is this even real? And similarly for pleasure, there is only so much this world can entertain you. Now shall we talk about the real stuff you've come here for? So we think survival and pleasure is our life purpose. Now, animals think the same too. At least my dog, Nadi, thinks that, if mom is outside in this door behind, she's taking a shower, and I'm outside, this is an emotional crisis. And he cries and yelps and tells the neighbors about it and wants to call 911. Now, that's his crises, okay? So he has insecurity and he has a need for pleasure. So he wants to play with everything, important documents and everything pretty much. It's playtime for him. And I and my partner, Sanjay, were talking that, well, he's 3 years old, but he's still a baby because with animals, we just pretty much want them to physically grow. We don't expect them to study Bhagavad Gita. Pretty much they'll kind of decay with age, but they'll still want to play if they can, at their own stage. But we humans have some additional responsibility. We can't just depend on nature to grow us physically into 5 foot something, fill us out, because, that happens. And until then, Mother Nature takes care of us from a single-celled embryo to a good infant at 9 months, and pretty much all we do is eat, breathe, go to the bathroom, and we grow, right? I mean, it's atrocious how much Mother Nature just helps us, most of us, okay? Then, but the other animals are not obliged to do anything further. If they can reproduce, they're good enough. If they can mate, they're pretty much happy, and they're done, you know. And they don't even complain about death too much. They just wait it out and they leave the body. So it's a biological peaking. But we humans, we don't feel complete with that. We need to emotionally peak too, and be emotionally mature and emotionally successful. So that emotional growth is now on our hands. This is the game that Bhagwan has told us. That I have grown you physically, but emotionally you have to grow, otherwise you suffer. So that is where we study Bhagavad Gita, okay, and activate our inner being and our inner knowingness. And how we do this is that we learn about a third goal. You cannot know it by perception, you cannot know it by inference, but none of us can deny it. Okay? And I wrote some words which, you know, sometimes I meditate in the morning and then I just write. And I wish I had a microphone at that time, because I write epics at that time. They can't capture them all. But I'd like to read to you. Yeah. The third goal is known as Dharma. Some of you may know it. And what is Dharma? Dharma is when you feel that somebody is hungry and you are about to eat your banana and you gave it to them. Now, neither you are fulfilling your survival, because you're actually jeopardizing your biological survival in case you're pitta and you die from hunger every time. So, you know, you're jeopardizing your survival. Plus, you are not even having any pleasure. You're foregoing your pleasure of eating something sweet, but you got pleasure from somebody else's happiness. See? It has gone beyond you. This is the birth of Dharma, the third goal. Where it goes, Dharma is only fulfilled, truly. We can talk about it all we want, but every time we go beyond our survival, emotional, economical, political, you know, political means power in a group, in a country, in a nation, in a state, in a family, in a school, in a club, power. We go beyond our survival into welfare for another, welfare for others, welfare for the organization. That is called Dharma. And so Bhagavad Gita teaches us the path to Dharma. What is it? Dharma operates at every dimension: physical, mental, astral, spiritual. It operates in this world and beyond. In fact, it is the principle that upholds divine vision in its manifested form. Dharma cannot be not known because, in fact, it is embedded deep inside each human being, from each living being, from an ant to a human, because it is the code to manifest divine will. An ant upholds Dharma by looking for food before rains come down and working together as one family. A human upholds Dharma by not only planning for food but sharing it, and serving all living creatures through its selfless work and acceptance of a spiritual responsibility that comes with a higher functioning mind. Dharma to humanity is like water to ocean. They are not foreign to each other. They complete and complement each other. So really, when Dharma begins to become an important goal in our life, an important way we act in our life, speak in our life, function in our life, share in our life, is when we are growing from a animal human, to a real human. Okay? But then there is another factor, the human will. No other animal has will like the human animal, and humans can exercise it to uphold dharma or flout it. When humans uphold dharma, not only do they get aligned with cosmic order, but they also help others align with it. They reap day-to-day positive outcomes and also reap fruit of positive karma in future lifetimes, known as punyam. When humans flout dharma, all hell breaks loose literally. In the beginning, they think they are getting away, but ultimately, dharma is an invisible code. It cannot be flouted. So personal negative consequences plus future negative consequences due to the fact that our actions do not end with our physical death, but carry on to manifest as negative life karma in future lifetimes ensues. Hence, loss of dharma is personal, spiritual suicide. And then, when we flout dharma, it hurts society, cosmos, universe. Hence, God Himself supports those who protect dharma. Dharma rakshati rakshataha. Those who protect dharma are protected by dharma. And in fact, dharma is therefore the third goal, and Bhagwan, Krishna, spends considerable time teaching us all about dharma. There is sadharana or samanya dharma, which is universal, and each one of us is asked to embody it in our day-to-day life. So even if we have a sister who doesn't deserve our affection, she still deserves the universal dharma as a code of protocol between us. Let the sister be how she is behaving. You live by that universal dharma. Do you see what I mean? Then there is Vishesha dharma, which is relevant to you in your specific roles as a husband, as a wife, as a sister, as a daughter, as a teacher, as a student. For example, I have universal dharmas which are common with all of you, but as Vishesha dharma, I have the Acharya's dharma to talk to you, and you have the student's dharma to interact with me. Okay. Then there is Swadharma, which I shall talk about next time. But Swadharma is understanding your day-to-day self. I mean, you have an obligation to understand and then uphold your propensities. If you are an actor, are you an actor? Are you a writer? Are you a soldier, a warrior, a cause-driven person? Are you a scholar, a high priestess? Who are you? And then make it non-negotiable. Live by it. Align to your swadharma. Swa means self, but not the ultimate dharma, but the dharma of those propensities that are within you. So the student of mine whose example I was giving in the corporate world, that student is a brilliant researcher, a brilliant writer, a brilliant thinker. So it doesn't suit that person to be hiding behind something. To shine, you must in that dharma. It's very ennobling, and we shall understand it. In the next class I shall talk about it, intro class, and then in our verse by verse study I shall go very deep into it. How to find it, what does Krishna say about it? So that is Swadharma. And then finally there is Atma Dharma, like what is your Atma? What is that true self? This whole journey of finding Atma Bodha, finding yourself, knowing yourself. Then there is also Naitik Dharma. Like taking a shower every day is also considered the dharma. Take a shower and be dharmic. At least do that. Don't stink up the planet. Can I expect that much from today's class? Even taking a shower, even greeting the sun and the moon, even being ecologically driven, all of these are considered day-to-day dharmas, naitik dharmas. See, isn't it beautiful? So therefore, these teachings are, you may call them moral teachings, but I call them teachings that make us conscious, that make us mindful, that make us expect more from ourselves. So, in the last 1 month on Earth time. Kind of dwell in different times on Earth time. There are been difficult interpersonal challenges, not in my student community, but in my own other life community, that have come my way. And each time, instead of reacting, I responded with Dharma. So what is a response and what is a reaction? Reaction is nothing but your ego just vomiting. And what is a response? A response is you pausing, calculating your Dharma, and then responding. You respond with Dharma because you're interested in the end. It's not just about you venting your ego, but it is about what is it you want? And is it Dharmic? And what is its consequence in this life and all future lifetimes? So this is the difference. And each time a response, which to me is Dharmic response, helped me navigate those waters. And if you want to learn about Dharma, then Bhagavad Gita is known as the original Dharma Grantha. You cannot deal with difficult people without your Dharma armor. You cannot even weaken those difficult people until you have the aura and light of your own Dharma shining through you. Because if we don't have Dharma in place, we are just two beggars, survival and pleasure-seeking people fighting with swords and arrows, wanting from each other. But if one of us enables our Dharma goal, and that becomes important to us, we will be like noble warriors even in a petty battle. And guess who gets protected? The Dharmic one does. You may or may not have the last word, but you shall have the lasting yasha, fame. Any takers? Jai Ma. And if Dharma has been understood, then instead of saying Artha Kama Dharma as the goals of life, the Veda likes to say we have the following goals of our human life: Dharma, Artha, Kama. Dharma comes first. That Dharma shall determine that I need a job to take care of my finance. I need to work. I would like some respect in my emotions, but without compromising Dharma. Do you see? Now your Dharma is strengthening or giving healthy boundaries to your endless search for survival and pleasure. And Dharma is, when Dharma comes first, many people give up their own security and pleasures for the benefit of others. When students reach out to me, when I am sitting here, I'm not getting any pleasure or survival. I spend my own money to come here, sit down, talk to you, time, everything. Why? Because Dharma comes first. Giving welfare for the planet has become a higher goal. And what that does is, why am I? Because it's a higher level of pleasure. It is not at the level of, it's not shopkeeping now. Do you see? So we are here now. Shopkeeping is fine if we need to keep a shop, but can we have Dharma with it? Without Dharma, the shops become a draconian marketplace. But nowadays, even great industries and leaders are now talking about sustainable, ethical cooperation. They may not have talked about Dharma, but the need for Dharma is being felt. It's being felt. Do you see? So if great industry leaders are bringing Dharma, how can my student not bring Dharma to her desk? To your little cubicle, to your little mind, to your attitude. And when you have Dharma, you may go that extra mile, but Dharma rakshati rakshataha, you look happier, healthier, younger, you age better, and you get an invisible protection. It is called adrishya punyam, invisible protection. Are you okay? All right. Now, to conclude my teaching today, which I will focus upon next time, there is, after teaching much about Dharma, and I should not fail to mention that Lord Krishna taught the Bhagavad Gita because he said, because he experienced that Dharma at a larger level, Samashti Dharma, was being eroded. Okay? And Bhagwan, the keeper, the divine will, does not appreciate that because Dharma is the cosmic order. And so because of that cosmic order, everything is regulated. So when the number of people who uphold the Dharma become critically reduced, and the number of people who flout the Dharma gets naturally increased, you can see that there will be an existential crisis. There will be an increased suffering. Right? This is why it's called Kali Yuga, the age of suffering and darkness. And that is why I can tell you that he proclaims in chapter 4, he says, I'm calling he, and if some of you are like into, well, God is divine feminine, I want to tell you that in Veda, what I'm teaching you, God is neither male or female. And God is being shown in certain scriptures like Mahatmaya or Devi Suktam as female, or as Parvati, Durga, and God is also shown as a male. It is incidental. Bhagavad Gita is not an anti-feminine text. Kindly, please note. Do not bring those controversies here. Some schools of thought like to do that because they can pick that and complain about Hinduism. In fact, if there is any one religion that sees God as that, so we have Ardhanari Nareshwara, you know. Hinduism is the only religion which sees God as a hermaphrodite. That's very interesting, isn't it? Because God can be elephant also, and God can be mouse also. How can you remove God from this and not that? If God is God, then it cannot be contained to one body or one receptacle, and that it should be living. So therefore, non-living receptacles, every anu is God, container of God. So therefore, I shall say he because Krishna is a male character. Is that acceptable? So everyone I shall meet over the years has to be acceptable, because by that time the myth of God being a he or she shall be exploded. You know, shall be upheld. It's okay to have God in a he or she form. Whatever form is beloved to you, Jesus, Krishna, Guru Nanak, please, that's receptacles of that ultimate divine. So no need to change your religion to study Bhagavad Gita, just the need to appreciate and see a bigger form of God coming to you through that Mother Mary, Saraswati, Durga. All is beautiful, beautiful. Okay. So the final teaching for tonight, we start awakening to Dharma, and then Lord Krishna says, he promises, he says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuthanam dharmasya atmanam sajamyaham. He says, when I notice that dharma or righteousness, the correct order, the correct harmony, the correct love, humanity, humanism is being destroyed only by humans. Animals cannot do that. When it is being reduced, willfully destroyed, and adharma is growing, as is today, as was then with Duryodhana and those evil kings, I manifest myself. So I come as an avatar. I am not Krishna, this king of Mathura, uncle of Arjuna. I am that supreme reality that has come forth as an avatar. So he reassures us. And then he says, paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkitam dharma samsthapanarthaye Sambhavami yuge yuge. And this particular shloka really connected to me because I had to become a worthy recipient of Bhagwan's protection, and I shall teach you that. He says that I come and kind of, like a embrace and surround and circle the sadhu. Who is sadhu? The one who has a harmonious dharmic mind, thinking, buddhi. Sadhu. And we are a sadhu lineage. So I come and surround you. And dushta, I destroy the one who is filled with, I want more pleasures and I am really, really insecure, so I want more kingdoms and I want more power and I want more glory and I want it at any cost. We are surrounded, right? Whether it's corporate politics, whether it is, national politics, whether it is family wars, it's like, who are you? Are you the one who's trying to practice Dharma, or are you the one who's hitting the blows, right? So he says, gives the preference, Krishna, I protect the one who is with Dharma. You may feel alone at that time, but if that student of mine just starts practicing her Dharma, then she doesn't have to have a powwow with her boss, Krishna will. Can we have a clap here? Thank you. You are protected, you follow your Dharma. So you have been given the Dharma of washing the dishes. You wash it, whether Shunya notices or not. You wash it. Krishna is protected. Do you see? Okay. Are you understanding? And vinashai. Vinash means completely destroy the non-dharmic. Dharma samsthapanarthaya. I want Dharma because Dharma is my will. It has room for every creature, big or small. There is care, there is harmony, there is truth, there is love, there is righteousness, there is industry, there is commitment. There are genuine gurus and there are genuine shishyas. There's true learning happening. Self-evolution and evolution of consciousness and planetary vibration is happening. I want that. And I will come. Sambhavami yuge yuge. Again and again, in every epoch, I shall be there. In human form. To once again re-establish Dharma. And that is why to re-establish Dharma at an individual level, at the collective level, the Bhagavad Gita was given. So therefore, if you, just in today's class, have seen through the vanity and the futility of only chasing security and pleasures, and you have a personal story around violation of that security and pleasure, I want you to just entertain another thought that you could work on that, and it could take some work and you might improve even. But probably it's an exponential and tricky situation. You are now ready to, when you start working on Dharma, what happens is Dharma is a state of overflow. Do you see that? You can help another, even the one who's being nasty and whatever. You can do it out of compassion or out of overflow. And when you overflow, do you remain insecure or secure? Secure. Do you need some fruitless pleasure or do you feel an inner joy? So to be dharmic, we don't have to set up a not-for-profit. We don't need a www.org. We don't need to have some project in the third world or fourth world. To be dharmic, we are a dharmic. I mean, the Upanishads even talk about a dharmic prostitute. She was a prostitute because that is what her destiny and karma had, born her into, a prostitute mother's womb. So that is what she knew as her life. But could she be dharmic in it? Is the question. So there is a priest, usually associated with Dharma, and a temple across the prostitute's home. And this is a story that when they both died, they both ascended to higher realms. So the priest got really upset. He's like, God, I couldn't tolerate that fallen neighbor all my life, and now we astro travel together. That's a bit too much. I mean, after all, I'm a pious priest. But the knowledge that he got was that when she was only doing what was her destiny, but she did it honestly. She did it not with vile. And she really wanted to relieve the suffering of those, and she understood the pain. So she said, if my body is becoming an instrument for service in this way, let it be so. But you could not even conduct your puja quietly. Every 10 minutes you had to come and judge her. Whereas you were given all the Vedic teaching and the scholarly learning and the pious marble temples. Do you see? Or I have the story wrong, but probably the prostitute ascended higher. That's what the story is. So the pious and the guy was still unhappy. So I mean, look at the Vedic teaching where, Dharma is not just a profession or even a religion, but an attitude, a synchronizing with the whole universe and with a harmonious way. And if there are people who have hurt you, given you suffering, and they may be sitting next to you, you could still think, well, didn't know any better. And we were all caught up in survival or empty pleasure, Didn't know. But as you grow Dharma, we start talking. And only a Dharmic being can truly, really then ascend towards their inner being and their inner power. So if you're ready for that conversation, we will meet again in 2 weeks. And if you are daring to go further with me, then I invite you to, I think Soumya may have mentioned, but you can become a member, and then you can sign up for Bhagavad Gita classes. Bhagavad Gita classes will happen from August, every second Thursday of every month, August onwards, only once a month for an hour and a half from 7 to 8:30 p.m. And the classes shall not happen here for Bhagavad Gita. The other classes will happen here. But the Bhagavad Gita class on the second Thursday of every month will happen on an internet-based technology. And I will be sitting in my office with my guru's photo behind me. And you shall be sitting in your own homes. And we shall all have internet-based meeting. I'll be able to see you. And you'll be able to see me. And yeah. So otherwise, you can catch it later on some library where it will be posted if you're a member. If you can't join that day, at that time. All right. So many blessings. Vande Shri Krishna Jagat Guru. We are grateful to Lord Krishna, who is the avatar of that Supreme Reality, for descending to our plane of consciousness and teaching Arjuna. And through this supreme dialogue, where you cared to go into our day-to-day illusions, such as of needing to fill ourselves up to be more secure and to please ourselves to be more pleasurable, we are only getting more and more wound up in an eternal chase. And then opening the path to a higher way, the way of conscious living, of being sensitive to the pain of others, to understanding that I am more than merely my pain, I am more than my needs and my story, and that any memories and sorrow that I have deep within me is really only a couple of thoughts, and I can mindfully help myself shed those thoughts. Only I can help myself do that. Atmaeva Atmana Bandhu. Let me be a friend of my mind. Let my mind be my friend. And let me guide it. Me, myself plus my intellect, guide my mind to understand that those thoughts have origin from ignorance, from very limited knowledge of the self operating within the field of family, society, and a field of competition. In reality, I am a cosmic being, a spiritual presence, with a body, with a mind, with a couple of family members. Things happen, plus, minus. I should not stop there. I am slowly embracing Dharma. Even in the most difficult of situations, I shall ask myself, what would God want me to do? What is my Dharma here? What would an evolved consciousness think, and how would it act? How should I respond and not merely react? How can I respond and uphold Dharma at the same time? By upholding Dharma, I get protected in the moment and in the future. I create new ways of compassionate living and creative being. And I also create an invisible protected pathway and grace. These are just gems, just dust from the 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita. I am getting ready to immerse myself. If I have any doubts, Bhagwan, please take them from me. I am deserving of your grace, of your knowledge. I am grateful to Sarayu Veda Sampradaya for giving me this knowledge in its pure and pristine form. May I learn at the banks of this river. May my being go into it dark and dirty and stained, and emerge from it full of its own inner radiant light, the light of 1,000 suns radiating from my inner being. I am ready. Please teach me, Krishna. Please teach me. Asato ma satkamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amridam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. From untruth to truth, from darkness to light, from mortality to embracing my immortal self, may I journey with knowledge, sacred knowledge, the words of Bhagavad Gita. Om. Blessings, my children, all of you, from this 10,000-year-old teacher. I deeply bless you. It's not funny, it's not a joke. I am 10,000 years old for you. And see that, take advantage, and be like children and start again. Yay!